Hello and welcome Talia and Matt to the Headway Hot Seat this week. And we're going to talk about relationships, and yours is a little bit different because you guys actually met after a brain injury. Before we talk about that, Matt, would you tell me a little bit about your brain injury and what happened to you?
Yeah, so I've got a hypoxic brain injury as a result of a spinal cord injury. So I dived off a harbour wall over in Ireland, and the water was only about 1 metre deep. So the shock of the impact, of breaking my neck in that way, caused my cardiac arrest. And then there was a group of people sort of pounced on me and gave me CPR for 45 odd minutes. And then I was sort of had to be defibed twice in the ambulance on the way to hospital. So the starvation of oxygen to my bloodstream and my body gave me my brain injury through that.
What was the impact of your brain injury on your life?
It's actually a bit complicated because it's not just the brain injury itself. I've got epilepsy we don't know if it was the impact or the sort of hypoxia which gave me my epilepsy, but on top of that it's the spinal cord injury. So it's absolutely massive impact across sort of a wide spectrum of my life.
Everything from speech to vision to processing, obviously seizures and movement as well.
Yeah, I had to learn everything from scratch again, really from smiling onwards to eating to talking. I had to teach myself to speak again. Obviously I had a lot of help in hospitals with occupational therapy, speech therapy, and family and friends around me. But in the early stages, all I could do is communicate through blinking. So it really was, I was lucky enough to maintain sort of my own identity within my own self, and although I could really communicate outwards, I was certainly determined to sort of start working on getting back to who I was sort of from the very off.
The prognosis initially was that you'd have no movement other than controlling a wheelchair by his chin. So everything that he relearned, he was told he wouldn't be able to do. So he pushed through and really determined to do it.
And you're facing all those challenges, and one of the biggest challenges in life is finding somebody to love. And you added that to the list because then you decided to pursue Talia.
Yeah, you could say it like that. Like we kept in touch sort of throughout the years because we've known each other since school.
We were 13, so we'd always been friends through growing up, but complete polar opposites as personalities. Growing up as teenagers, he was the class clown and the joker, and I was a bit of a geek.
So a bit of Jack the lad.
Yeah.
I think we sort of both said that if we'd go back in time to our teenage selves, the thought process of us being together as adults.
13-year-old me would have laughed at marrying him.
But that did not put you off. And tell us about the moment that you went to ask Talia out, because it's quite a story.
It was very warm in the shop that I was working in, and I hadn't seen him obviously since his accident. He popped in to see me, and I was that overwhelmed that he was talking and he was stood in front of me, and just that he was still him. It sounds a bit daft, but it was such a shock that I ended up passing out. And you popped back to see me a bit later once I'd recovered, and so should we start again and go for a coffee?
Make sure you're right after your workmates scooped you off into the
staff room
canteen.
Yeah, and then instead of a coffee, he texted me and said, "Should we go to London for the day?"
Yeah, a bit like a stray cat. I just sort of moved in and then didn't really sort of leave there.
No. Takes us on to this little one. So what happened then in your whirlwind romance?
we dated for a good sort of almost a year, and then we went to Paris in the February and got engaged, and then by the June we bought a house, and then in the September we got married, and the following year found out I was pregnant with Lacey, which she's a miracle in itself, because Matt's had testicular cancer. Spinal injured patients don't tend to be able to naturally have children, and I'd had cervical cancer as well, so her coming along was a massive blessing.
So all the odds were sort of stacked up against us. Really.
What is life like as a couple after brain injury?
Chaos.
Yeah.
Organised chaos. So a lot of it is obviously I had to give up work to become Matt's main carer, because of his epilepsy, because of his mobility, and obviously having a child makes things a lot more pressurised. But she also helps out now that she's big enough. In the early stages, Matt couldn't help with the feeds or carrying her or holding her. So now she's getting bigger, they can do a lot more together. She can help him put his socks on. So they're sort of the things that she's learning to do with Matt as well.
Yeah, everything that your sort of normal couple would sort of tend to help out each other with, you had to do, didn't you, Talia? All of it and more, right from the first early days of being pregnant. So it's only in the sort of last eight months to a year or so where Lacey's getting big enough to help me help her out, that our family dynamics starting to shift more towards as normal as it can be. Like you just said, she can help me help her, and that also helps us out in a massive way.
And that's all she's ever known. She's only ever known wobbly daddy with a bit of a stammer, and that's her normal. Going to hospital trips and things, if she sees an ambulance, she thinks it's a taxi for daddy, because if daddy has a seizure, he has to go in an ambulance sometimes. So she thinks that that's just how daddy travels to hospital now.
But I find it comforting that she's very comfortable around paramedics, nurses, doctors.
When she grows up, she wants to be able to help people.
Yeah.
You want to help people, make them better, don't you? Just like you do with daddy.
Is that what you want to do when you're older?
And I'm also a princess and a superhero.
Well, that sounds like a perfect combination: princess, superhero, and helping people.
Yeah.
I bet you do that already.
You do? Do you help daddy get rest? Yeah.
What is the hardest thing to cope with together?
We've really struggled during lockdown. I
Yeah.
think that was pressurised. It made everything quite heightened, because there is just you as a family. There's no outlet from work. There's no preschool. So everything becomes, you're literally on top of each other, and you can just sort of rub each other up the wrong way. But during that, Matt found himself mentally finding it difficult.
Yeah, really compounded like everything. And I've since found out that I've got sort of issues going right back to my childhood, which I wasn't really cognitively aware of. But we had a sort of my neurologist arranged for a psychotherapist to come out and see us at sort of the higher, say, my mental wellness.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was crisis point, but like you were about ready to walk out the door.
Definitely at a boiling point. And yeah, she was a neurological psychologist, so she could differentiate between what was mental health and what was brain injury, what was caused by the injury and personality. Because obviously that can be quite difficult as a couple to distinguish what's just their personality and what's caused by the brain injury. So she really helped just sort of distinguish that for the pair of us, and just made us communicate a little bit better about what each of us were feeling, what Matt couldn't necessarily communicate to me. So it definitely helped us sort of clarify things. And then Matt went on to do some CBT through his work.
Yeah, that helped me personally a huge amount as well. I think having truly open conversations about the sort of state of both our mental health has really helped us going forward as well.
I think you have to be. I think if you keep everything closed book, it makes it very difficult. But if you're open with other people can have an insight. They might not necessarily understand, but they can have an insight into what you're going through, and you can help each other. I think majority of the time it's humour. Humour gets us through the most difficult and the most embarrassing situations that you could have with a spinal cord injury and a brain injury, and having a daughter as well.
I'm 10 and a half years post-injury now, and it's still changing. I'm still adapting to new things, and with sort of a 4-year-old, and that's always going to be the case as she grows up as well. So it's important to know that it's okay to change. It's okay to grow, and you sort of as somebody with a brain injury, I think it's important to tell other people that things are sort of plastic, are fluid. They will change, and they hopefully will change for the better. It can take years and years for that to come into sort of come true, but.
Thank you guys, all three of you are just wonderful, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.